Hey, what's going on? Farhan here. I'm here in my apartment. In the back, you see downtown Toronto. And today's video is going to be about hair loss treatment. Now, for those of you who use Rogaine or are thinking of using Rogaine or some other hair loss treatment product, this video is for you. And I'm going to be talking about a specific type of hair loss treatment product known as Minoxidil. And Rogaine is the name brand product that's been used for decades now, and Minoxidil is inside of Rogaine. So the way this video is going to be structured is, first of all, it's for people who are thinking of getting this product, or if you are losing hair, even if you're young. A lot of people start losing their hair when they're quite young. So if you are one of those people, please watch this video. It's very important. And if you are concerned about losing your hair in the future, maybe you have some sort of genetic issue where your dad or your mom or your grandfather, grandmother, because baldness comes from both sides of the family, by the way. It's not just from the maternal side, it's also from the paternal side. It's on the X and the Y chromosome. This is something that was found out recently, relatively recently. So that's what this video is going to be about. So the way it's going to be structured is I'm going to first talk about what Minoxidil is, kind of introduce the topic of hair loss treatment and male pattern baldness. Then we will get into the benefits of Minoxidil. You know, how does it work? What are the mechanisms? And how does it actually benefit your hair loss treatment regimen? The third thing we're going to discuss are side effects. What are the problems or what are the issues associated with applying this on your scalp? And we're also going to get into some practical issues, how to apply it, what exactly to do. And then at the end of this video, we're going to conclude and talk about some future research and development that's happening at the moment, you know, or over the last 5 years, and talk about that and then end the video. Now, I have looked at 2 different research papers to make this video, and I'm gonna post the links in the description below so you can get access to those papers as well, so you can follow along. So now let's start with the first paper. This was published in 2012, and in the abstract, right off the bat, we see this. Measurable changes disappear within months after discontinuation of treatment. Now, I talk about this right away in the abstract. We're going to get into the side effects and mechanisms later, but just right off the bat, understand that Minoxidil is not something that you apply and then you have hair and that's it. No, you're going to have to apply it for your whole life. Now, if we continue in the abstract, it needs to be applied regularly, once or twice daily, for hair gained to be maintained, and side effects are common. Again, I'm introducing this paper here, and so you see, you know, there are side effects. You need to apply it once or twice daily. Now let's continue the abstract. Irritant and allergic contact dermatitis. Now, this is just one of the issues in terms of side effects of Rogaine or Minoxidil, and we're going to get into that soon. But next, let's look at the actual benefits and the practical aspects of Minoxidil. So, again, we look at the paper. Progressively, thanks to Minoxidil, the miniaturized hair follicle stays longer in the anagen phase, producing in following cycles hair increasingly similar to the terminal hair. These effects are strictly connected to the presence of the drug, and they regress when the drug's consumption is stopped. So now you see that there are different phases of a hair follicle's cycle. So the way it works is a hair follicle has different cycles. There's anagen, catagen, and telogen. Anagen is where the hair actually grows, right? So this can last up to a few years. It's usually around 3 to 5 years, and in Asians, it's up to 7 years. That's why you see a lot of Asians full head of hair, even later on in age. There's a genetic component there, and genetic diversity in different cultures and populations. Catagen is very short. It's like 10 days. But then telogen, which lasts about a few months, that is where the hair sheds, right? You get shedding of hair. And what Minoxidil is going to do is it's going to shorten that last stage, which is the telogen stage, and prolong the anagen stage. So you're going to go from the telogen stage to the anagen stage faster. You're going to stay longer in the anagen phase. Now, the other thing this paper mentions is this aspect of terminal hair. Okay, so what is the difference? Let me just talk about this a little bit in terms of mechanisms. So there are two types of hair that you have on your head. There's vellus hairs and terminal hairs. Terminal hairs are like, for example, the sides. What you'll notice is, like, let's say your dad or you yourself, your grandpa, a lot of old people you see are bald. Usually what happens is they keep this side hair, right? The side hair is pretty intact, and they get this male pattern baldness where they first get baldness here, then they get baldness here in the top over here, and so on. So vellus hairs are the ones that go away faster. They're weaker. They get thinned out faster. They shed faster. Terminal hairs stay there longer. These are like the side hairs. They're very deep rooted. Your pubic hair, there's a lot of terminal hair there too. So what's happening with minoxidil is that it's keeping the hair follicle longer in the anagen phase, which is the growth phase, and shorter in the telogen phase. Okay, now another thing you'll notice that we're going to get into soon, actually let's get into it now. Let's get into the side effects. The speculated reason for this shedding is the encouragement of hairs already in the telogen phase to shed early before often beginning a fresh, healthier anagen phase. Now, what does this mean? Essentially, when you start applying minoxidil, it will not just, your hair won't just start growing fast. Now remember, hair grows very slowly, especially for older men. So you have to have patience, right? So if you're taking a supplement, you're improving your diet, you're exercising more, you're improving blood flow to the hair and so on, it's gonna take months, like 6 months maybe, to actually see a difference. And because you're not measuring the size of your hair follicle, there's no way for you to really know unless you do this, to get an expensive instrument or some kind of machine to measure that. And there's very few doctors in the world that actually do that the proper way. However, if you want to see, you take pictures every day, or you want to really see that hair growth, then you need to be patient. Be very, very patient. And what minoxidil is going to do is it kind of synchronizes your hair cycles. So that is why you get shedding in the first place. So this initial shedding, it might last, I don't know, a little bit of time, a month or two, to get your hair cycles in sync again. So because remember, your telogen, which is that shedding phase, is now happening faster. It's ending, so it can start the anagen phase. So if you do get the shedding, don't worry. It is part of the process, and then you will see even thicker hair, which is in the anagen phase. Okay, it's going to be healthier and thicker, so keep that in mind. Now let's keep reading this paper. Contact dermatitis to a specific ingredient in the preparation. Now, this is one of the side effects. So there's like scaling in the scalp, there's dermatitis, there's itching, there's some kind of allergic reactions that happen with minoxidil. These are the side effects. Now, I personally have never used it. I have friends who've used it. There's clients who've used it, but I personally haven't used it. So I'm not talking from a first-hand perspective. So I'm just letting you know that these are effects that can happen in a certain number of people who use minoxidil. And there is an ingredient inside minoxidil, which actually we're going to talk about that in the conclusion when we talk about future research and development. It's called propylene glycol, and that is sort of like a vehicle. It's used to increase the biouptake of minoxidil in the body. So that is the reason a lot of people have allergic reactions. So keep that in mind. Let's continue to read. Scalp, pruritus, and scaling, irritant and allergic contact dermatitis. As I said, so make sure that you keep that in mind, and you have to balance out the side effects versus the benefits. Now, there's been research done in terms of surveys which have shown that men actually would rather grow a full head of hair back because they're bald now, and they prefer that to money. They prefer that to sexual function, sexual performance. Like, it's really painful. If you are in this boat, like, I totally feel you. I've asked several people with a full head of hair, what would happen if you lost your hair? And you should see the look on their face. So yes, a balanced diet is very important. Exercise is very important. Not having stress is very important. Having the right type of hormonal balance, super important. In the future video, we're going to get into DHT and finasteride, which is Propecia if you've used that. I'm going to make another video about that. So keep in mind that you want to make sure the side effects and the benefits balance each other out, and it's a trade-off. So I feel you, bro. Okay. Now let's get into the actual how to apply and the practical aspects, and then we conclude. So minoxidil must be applied twice a day with the dosage of 1 milliliter on dry scalp. The drug does not need to be massaged or rubbed, and it is convenient for the patient to wash his hands. The drug uptake of 50% is possible after 1 hour, which is 4 hours is necessary to obtain an uptake similar to 75%. It's not convenient to spread the drug soon before going to bed or head cover. So here we notice that you can just apply minoxidil on your scalp and you keep it there for an hour and then you wash it out. If you keep it for 4 hours, you're going to have a 75% effect. So this is exactly how it's applied. Now let's keep going. It is important that the doctor explains to the patient that 4 to 6 months of treatment are needed to see significant results. Otherwise, the compliance will be low. The treatment discontinuation induces hair drop and a slow return to initial clinical state before treatment. Now, we already know this. Keep in mind, anything that is going to take time, like hair growth, which it's a very, very slow process, especially in older men, like I mentioned. So stay patient. Please, please stay patient. Now, that is the video. Let me conclude by just saying that there are, and so this paper was published in 2012. Over the last 5 years, there's been not too much known about how minoxidil works. Now, there's this concept, just to get into a little bit of science. So what minoxidil is doing, by the way, there's 5% minoxidil in Rogaine, or mostly stuff that guys use, and it's 2% for women who are doing hair loss treatment. The way minoxidil actually works is that it opens up a potassium channel in the hair follicle. This is the hypothesis. We don't really know, but this is sort of like speculation. And it's presumed or hypothesized, proposed that this opening of the potassium channel lets more blood flow into the hair follicle and hence more oxygen and more nutrients, and so the anagen phase is prolonged. This is sort of the mechanism of action. Now, why does potassium channel opening help this? Well, it's a hyperpolarization of the cell. Now, getting a little bit sciencey here, but we're going to conclude soon, so don't worry. This is super neuroscience. I love this stuff. I studied this all during my PhD, so I love it. So when a potassium channel opens, potassium goes out of the cell. Okay, remember, sodium comes in, like in an action potential. For those of you neuroscience nerds, you have an action potential. Sodium comes in, potassium goes out, and you get this fucking spike, right? That's like brain activity. Spikes, spikes, spikes. You always hear of these spikes. These are action potentials. So what's happening with minoxidil is, presumably, it's opening up a potassium channel. Potassium flows out of the cell. It hyperpolarizes the cell, because if positive ions are leaving the cell is becoming more negative. So that's called hyperpolarization. And that is the presumable function of how minoxidil works on a potassium channel, increases blood flow, and so on and so forth, oxygen to the cell, and you have a prolonged anagen phase. Now, to conclude, what they're doing now is they're trying to make minoxidil solution without propylene glycol. They're trying to use other vehicles that allow for the same type of uptake or even better uptake, but without the allergic and the irritant and the dermatitis and scaling of the scalp, all these bad side effects. So in the last 5 years, they've been doing this research. I don't think something has come out yet, but shit will come out and it'll be patented and expensive. Probably not as expensive as PRP and hair transplants and all these injections and stuff that people do, which we're going to get into in future videos. But that's what's happening in the last 5 years. A lot of research happening. So if you really have used minoxidil and had a lot of irritation, then don't worry. People are working hard for you, and I'm working hard for you trying to produce this content. and help you understand exactly what minoxidil is. If I didn't answer any of your questions in this video, please post your comments below. Give a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel. A lot of hair videos coming soon. Yeah, and subscribe to our Facebook group, Biggest Balls in the Game, Balls with a Z. And a lot of great engagement, a lot of great content there, a lot of camaraderie, a lot of community. And I want to thank you for watching this video. And I feel you. We don't want to lose our hair. Remember, hair health is correlated with overall health and well-being, right? This is why I'm bringing this hair content to our Doc Testosterone channel. Yes, we talk about testosterone, about masculinity, but hair is a correlation with health. That is true. A lot of people who go and have, maybe they're not getting enough protein in their diet, or there's protein deficiency, or they have certain nutrient deficiency, B vitamins. There's all these nutritional aspects, and their overall health is suffering, their body is suffering, their mind is suffering, but so is their hair. So we can look at hair health as an indication or a symptom or a sign, physical manifestation of your overall health and well-being. That is why I'm bringing this to the channel. It has a lot to do with masculinity. Let's optimize our hair growth. Let's optimize our hair health. And I will see you soon.